Floyd! Floyd! I'll knock you out! He's sick, look at him.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. Unbeaten up-and-comer from right here in the US of A, Kreps, took to her social media and stated they've been sleeping and it's time to wake them up. Coming for it all in 2024.
An ex-user that goes by the name Joel Green said, "This girl is solid. Can't wait to see her fight again."
To which young Makia responded, "Thank you. Fight announcement soon." Kreps is a fighter I've talked about here on the channel on several occasions with good reason. She's very talented, though still flying low on the radar, sporting a professional record of 7 wins with no losses, no draws, 3 knockouts.
Based out of Niagara Falls.
She was last in action late last year in November. She fought 2 times last year, once in November and before that in May. The year before, she fought 3 times.
Very skillful fighter.
So even though she's still flying low on the radar, she has been active, she has been fighting, and that's the most that you can ask a fighter to do in this early stage of their career. She debuted as a professional way back there in October of 2020, the year of the shutdown.
Seems like ancient history.
Kia is best described as a boxer puncher.
A mid-range to inside boxer puncher who's not limited to boxing mid-range to inside. She's fleet of foot. She can get on her toes, move around, create space.
Box from the outside if she needs to. Slippery on the inside. Slippery in the pocket. That's what I like about her. That she's versatile. That she is adjustable.
With a mean spirit.
She likes to hurt her opponents, it seems. That she's got a mean streak. She likes to put punches together, step into them, rip combinations.
She's good.
And that a fighter this talented is flying so low under the radar, it accents that even though the sport of women's boxing really has come a long way in the last 6 or 7 years, in the American market, there's more work needs doing.
Women's boxing really has had a renaissance in the last 6 or 7 years. It has.
But it still feels like it's more widely accepted across the pond, across the Atlantic Ocean, in the United Kingdom and Europe, more so than it is in America, as there are a good number of American up-and-comers, unbeaten ones, that
they need a push.
When Kreps was last in action, in November of last year, she fought Isis Vargas Perez in what was registered as a super bantamweight contest, an 8-rounder. But Makia weighed in just above super bantamweight at 123.5 pounds, which is really a featherweight contest. Makia weighed in as a featherweight. Anything north of 122 pounds, that's featherweight. So it's a little hard to pin down where exactly Kreps campaigns. What that tells me is that she could campaign anywhere in between super bantamweight or featherweight. Now, down there at super bantamweight, you have 4 separate world champions, 4 separate titleists. Holding the IBF is the United Kingdom's own Ellie Scottney.
Catford.
She's going to be unifying titles very soon with France's own unbeaten WBO champion, Sigaline Lefebvre of La France.
Au revoir!
Mexico's own Yemi Mercado, long-reigning champion, the longest reigning champion at this weight, also the youngest. She holds the WBC title. Erica Cruz, her countrywoman of Mexico, she's got the WBA. Erica's been calling for a unification match between them, an all-Mexican shootout, and we'll see if that happens.
If Kreps campaigns here, this is a hot division, a hot weight class where Matchroom just so happens to have not 1, not 2, but 3 prized stallions.
Ellie Scottney, IBF champion, who I mentioned earlier, Erica Cruz, WBA champion, who I mentioned earlier, and Ramla Ali.
What's the relevance of that?
While Kreps is not a matchroom fighter, she's not. She can get in line. She can get in line to fight with one of them, since 2 of them just so happen to be champions. And there's a window of opportunity there for her, like there was a window of opportunity there for Alicia Baumgartner before they signed her, when she signed on to take on Terry Harper, if you see what I mean.
That when a major promotional outfit has more than 1 champion at a given weight, that creates opportunities for everybody, even the fighters that they haven't signed, to showcase their abilities, their talents, so long as they can get in line.
For Kreps, who seems to be campaigning anywhere in between super bantamweight and featherweight, there's yet another opportunity up there at featherweight when it comes to unbeaten up-and-comer Sky Nicholson, who's very close to becoming that division's WBC champion. champion. Now, the other belts, the other 3 alphabet titles, Amanda Serrano's got those, but I don't think she's going to be boxing beyond this year.
You see what I'm getting at? There were lots of opportunities for Makia between 122 and 126. What she has to do is fight in those eliminators, stay busy, stay active, stay winning, and get in line. She's young, so she has plenty of good years to give to the sport of boxing, and she says that she's got some fight news incoming. So we'll see what that news is. Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Floyd Mayweather was asked about P. Diddy's situation. What's this got to do with boxing?
We'll get to the boxing. Floyd Mayweather says he won't speak down on Diddy because he's a black man. Says if his daughter were one of the alleged victims, he would be hurt. But it would be a choice she made.
Wait, what?
I understand the concept of innocent until proven guilty in this country. I understand that concept. The thing is that that's not what Floyd Mayweather said. He said on the predication that both he and P. Diddy
Made this a tribalism thing.
not on the predication of innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, but on the predication of race, on the premise that both he and Diddy are the same race, he won't speak ill of him.
It's morally ambiguous.
I feel like he would have been better off saying nothing than saying that. I feel like he would have been better off not speaking on it altogether. Just leaving it to the imagination, because he himself doesn't know all the details. But when you make that declaration, it accents immorality and its unprincipled and self-serving nature, that the only reason you're giving this guy the benefit of the doubt is because of 1 or 2 things you might have in common with him. In this instance, race. I mean, what if I told you I'm gonna give a murderer, a suspected murderer, sexual deviant, perhaps even a child predator, the benefit of the doubt and won't talk down on him on the premise that me and him fly the same flag or kind of look alike, or maybe I sat behind him in homeroom.
He lived next door to my cousin.
That doesn't display a level head. What it displays is apathy, indifference, immorality. Not because the subject is innocent or guilty, but why you're giving them the benefit of the doubt. Why exactly you won't talk them down.
What your reservations are and what motivates them.
Floyd Mayweather himself was never really that well liked. Even at the height of his popularity in his heyday, when he was making all those millions, he made them because he made it a point to target fighters that had big followings, fighters that already had an audience and countries behind them, though he himself was never really that well liked, and stuff like this is why.
So when you strip all that away, the box office success and what popular fighters he fought that optimized profits, when you
Look at the person, look at the man, for the man he presents himself to be, to the public, to the media. He's willing to portray himself as a villain, present himself as one, to sell pay-per-views, but is that what he's doing now? He's retired.
I know he's still selling exhibition matches.
As pay-per-views, but when he says this, when he says stuff like this, is that Floyd staying in character, or is it that he's just an asshole? He was always an asshole, and he's still an asshole.
It's just that now you don't have his professional boxing career to distract you from the asshole that he is.
As it pertains to Floyd Mayweather and his exhibition matches, Floyd Mayweather on Manny Pacquiao claiming that they're going to have an exhibition match with Rizin in Japan this year. When Manny Pacquiao spoke about that, he shouldn't have. I'm not going to say he's right, and I'm not going to say he's wrong just by him saying my name. They gave me a check for $4 million.
Is he bragging?
Well, he's claiming that just for Manny saying his name, the people at Rizin cut him a check for $4 million. That should be chicken change for a guy who claims to bank $300 million every month. There are countries that aren't making that kind of money.
Yeah, there are countries that aren't worth that much.
$300 million a month for 12 months, that's a calendar year, comes out to roughly $3.6 billion by the end of the year.
And you believe he's making that much?
While staging exhibition matches with C and D and E level celebs?
You believe he's making that much?
Whilst bragging about a paltry amount of money like $4 million. $4 million? What's $4 million to a guy who's banking $300 million by the end of the month from real estate, I believe he said it was.
Make of that what you will.
He continued, remember, he being Manny Pacquiao, got famous because they said he could be the guy that could possibly dethrone the king. Did it happen? Absolutely not. Was it easy? Absolutely.
I watched the whole interview, the podcast, and it was cringeworthy watching Floyd Mayweather at his advanced age reciting the same old stuff, same old material like it's 2013.
I've noticed that the old legends like Sugar Ray Leonard, like George Foreman, they speak fondly of their contemporaries as they've gotten older.
Many boxers.
Where Floyd seems to be trapped in a bubble, trapped in a time warp. I've seen interviews where George Foreman speaks fondly of Muhammad Ali, his adversary, in his heyday, in his prime.
It's just weird to see that Floyd really hasn't changed.
It reminds me of that old Muhammad Ali quote that, if I'm still thinking the same at age 50 as I did at age 20, then I've wasted 30 years. It seems like Floyd Mayweather is still thinking exactly the same as he did when he was a younger man. He's not the least bit graceful. I don't expect him to be, and he doesn't have to be. Better still, he isn't.
And it's not a secret that he thinks himself greater than anyone who came before him and anyone who's come after him. He thinks himself greater than Muhammad Ali.
So the Muhammad Ali quotes are wasted on him, that he made more money than Muhammad, and that he made more money than perhaps any prize fighter that ever fought.
Perhaps he did.
That he retired undefeated with an unblemished record.
He did.
And that's how he measures his greatness. In his own mind, that makes him better than his predecessors and better than the later generations that followed. But the boxing community at large, for whatever reason, doesn't share in that sentiment.
Not unanimously.
He was a great boxer in his time, but was he the greatest of all times because he made a lot of money?
I mean, it's great that he made a lot of money, but does that make him greater than everybody else?
That's subject to some debate because, as stated, there are large sections of the boxing community that don't view him in that scope, in that realm, in that spectrum, and don't think of Floyd the way that he thinks of himself.
Is that why he's always reminding people?
Is it narcissism? Or is it insecurity that leaves him so inclined after he's retired, long after he's retired, to still
act?
Carry on this way?
Is he acting?
Or is this all he really is, underneath it all? Saying, I'm really still the face of boxing. I'm appreciative for guys like Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali, and Sugar Ray Leonard. So many guys who paved the way for me. But there's only one Floyd Mayweather. These fighters are not better than me.
He thinks he's still the face of boxing.
I suppose that a fighter has to have this kind of self-belief, this kind of egocentricity to really make it as a boxer, make it as a fighter, believing in yourself when no one else does. But Floyd's not boxing anymore. He's not fighting anymore.
So what is this?
It's often been said that Floyd Mayweather may have been wildly successful in his own pro boxing career, though he could never really make it as a promoter because he's too focused on himself, so much so he could never adequately promote anyone else. And when you think of his promotional company, Mayweather Promotions, it is safe to say that he's not having the success with that he had in his own career, promoting the careers of other fighters.
When you think of competitive nature and excellence as a character trait that's a part of a person's persona, it has a way of spilling over into everything the person does.
That doesn't appear to be true of Floyd. The success that he had as a boxer is not the same success that he is having as a promoter or what exhibition matches he has staged in the subsequent years that have followed his retirement from pro boxing.
Some bigger than others.
The biggest one, I think, was the Logan Paul exhibition match. That one landed on Showtime and was reported to have brought in 1 million pay-per-view buys, though I've no doubts Logan Paul, being a social media influencer, has something to do with that. As boxing fans,
why would a boxing fan want to see Floyd Mayweather in there with Logan Paul? Why would they pay for that?
There were other exhibition matches afterwards, other exhibition matches that followed that didn't bring in those kinds of box office numbers, those metrics. The sparring session with his old sparring partner, Don Moore, dangerous Don Moore.
Floyd thinks he's still the face of boxing.
Then what did that do at the box office? What kind of revenue did that generate? What kind of revenue did the Chalmers fight generate?
What did that do on pay-per-view? You're still the face of boxing, right?
Right. According to Floyd, he is. So why did he have to explain low ticket sales afterwards? If you're still the face of boxing, why didn't people come out in droves to see you fight if you're the face of boxing?
What did the exhibition with John Gotti's grandson bring in?
These were the exhibition matches that followed the Logan Paul exhibition match, which was reported to have brought in 1 million or over 1 million pay-per-view buys that featured a very popular social media influencer, whereas those exhibition matches, they didn't, and they weren't reported to have sold 1 million pay-per-views.
Why not?
Not sure. According to Floyd, he's the face of boxing, so they should have done just as good, if not better, than the Logan Paul exhibition match. Floyd Mayweather said, young fighters, coaches, and managers say, oh, you're better than Floyd. You're better than Floyd. That's good. That's good motivation for a fighter. You can tell him that. But deep in his heart, he doesn't believe that.
Kinda like how deep in your heart you don't really believe you're TBE, and that's why you're still saying that all these years later?
Because if you're really TBE, you don't have to say it. You don't have to say it to interviewer after interviewer on podcast after podcast from person to person. If you are what you say you are, you won't have to say it because people will say it for you. It will go without saying.
And yet he keeps saying it.
My thoughts.
Floyd's not the face of boxing.
Low ticket sales were the headline. Low ticket sales were the story when he boxed Chalmers across the pond in the UK. Low ticket sales.
It's an oxymoron. It's a contradiction is what it is.
If the revenue you were generating in your heyday is what made you the face of boxing, well, you're not generating that anymore. You're not generating that now. You get out there playing dancing bear opposite the ring, some fucking nobody. People don't buy it by the boatload. No, not unless you're opposite the ring, somebody who already has a profile. The same way that you used to when you were an active boxer.
Targeting popular fighters in order to optimize profits because you yourself were never that well liked and you still aren't.
Do I think Floyd Mayweather is banking $300 million a month while sharing the ring with these C and D list celebrities? No, I don't think so. I think Floyd is strapped for cash. He might be broke. Now, maybe not broke like me or you, like a normal person.
But you essentially never left. In fact, you schedule these exhibition matches more frequently than you schedule fights for your own fighters. I mean, that's why Richardson Hitchens left Mayweather Promotions. In his own words, he had to beg for fight dates.
Angelo Leo, after he lost to Stephen Fulton, he loses one fight, and what do? You cast him aside? Why didn't you schedule any fights for that guy? I guess it's because you were too busy scheduling fights for yourself. Exhibitions, I should say. And it's all for quote-unquote fun.
Yeah, right.
That Floyd still characterizes himself as the face of boxing, not even the fighter that he used to promote as a point of pride, Gervonta Davis.
Not that Gervonta is the face of boxing.
He is not the top-earning boxer in the sport of boxing. Not the first, not the second, not even the third. But that Floyd didn't name him this era's face of boxing as a point of pride for having promoted him and having gotten him there to that point.
That's why he's not a good promoter.
You didn't hear him mention Gervonta Davis being the face of boxing from a promoter's standpoint, as a point of pride that it's your promotion that got him to where he is. No, he brought up himself. He mentioned himself, starts talking about himself.
Even though he beat Canelo Alvarez, I don't think it sits well with him that in this era, he's the face of boxing, in spite of not having an unblemished record, in spite of having 2 losses in the column and a draw.
He doesn't need to be perfect. He doesn't need to be perfect to be more well-liked than you are. And you may say that Mayweather doesn't care if he's well-liked.
So why does he keep telling people he's TBE?
Seems like he wants people to view him in that scope, that spectrum.
Otherwise, why would he still be saying this stuff after all these years?
If you say something, it's because you're assuming that someone is listening, and this is the message you want to impart to them. That you're TBE, that you're still the face of boxing, you still want people to think of you that way, but you're not.